And because I wanted to talk a little bit about fellowship this morning and some of the joys around fellowship. And so if you don't have time for practice, then you don't. Now, I did ask the kids' church kids to come out because they're going to be going out and playing, and it'll connect in with what I'm going to talk about. First thing, I wanted to share that yesterday we went to IKEA late in the day with 3 kids, and the meatballs were good. And it was a little bit frantic, but it's always an adventure going to IKEA. Has everyone been to IKEA? Has everyone visited Sweden themselves and got what they need? We just wanted, I think, we wanted a wardrobe. We needed a particular wardrobe for a 9-year-old's clothes, a lot of clothes. 9-year-old girls, anyway, they're in now, a lot of clothes. So we went for that. We came away with, I think, everything except that. But that's not the point, is it? That's part of the experience. But while we were there, the kids were having a fantastic time going through all the little houses and the little rooms that are set up. If you haven't been there before, everything's on display. And you walk through for about 1,000 miles of Swedish interior design. And you look at all the different frying pans and chairs and beds and things like that. And they've all got fantastic names. My sister-in-law is Finnish, and she's great at all the different pronunciations and things like that, and I am not. And so they're all called fizzle poppers or what, you do your best. And Evie is just picking up. She's getting really good at reading at the moment. And she's kind of having a crack at all these wonderful placements of vowels and consonants in different ways. And there's Vink bars and there's ung pops and all sorts of things. And she's really getting into it. And she goes over to this toilet that's there, and she goes, "Dad, look at this one. It's called a display uno." So that says display only. Don't use that one. But that was part of it. It all looks so real, That's the warning they got to put in big letters on the toilet from, I'm sure, at some stage, some terrible experience that's been had from some poor employee. When we think about fellowship, I suppose that's one of the hallmarks what we want, isn't it? Not that it looks good, not that we're kind of all happy in each other's presence, but that it's not just a display-only kind of fellowship that we've got. And I think display-wise, just kind of in terms of judging how good-looking we all are, we're very high. And compared to any of the other churches around, we're one of the best-looking churches. We all know that, right? Come on. But what about the depth? Well, to be honest, I think we've got that pretty good too. When I was listening to Wall's talk, what a fantastic story. But I think not just in terms of our little 9-year-olds, I think when we look around, we're told to be as children. I think we've got quite a few umbrella-bearing 9-year-olds among our ranks across the different pews. And I think that's something that's incredibly encouraging. So I wanted to look at 2 different ways that we kind of want to cut through. We don't want a fake toilet. Well, this metaphor, I'm dropping it now. How do we go and make sure we haven't got a display-only kind of fellowship? And there's 2 kind of things I wanted to look at. And the first one is I wanted to look at one of my mother's favorite Bible verses. We're going to do a bit of a guessing game for it. Kids, you want to come up and help me? Would that be okay? And I promise, once we've got it all lined up, you can go outside and play colour tiggy. But can you guys come up here and help me out for a second? Fantastic. How about here? How about right here down there? There we go. That's all right. In the comfort zone. Hey, look at those. You need to trim your fingernails, miss. All right, now, what we're going to do is, you guys have read the whole Bible now, yeah? No. You've been at kids' church all year. You haven't read the whole Bible? Well, that's not your fault, is it? That's not your fault, is it? Okay, I'm going to put some clues up as to what the scripture is, okay? And hopefully they're going to also help us remember it. This is one of my favorites. All right? Can we go to the next? Okay, here we go. Off the bat, can anyone pick what the scripture verse is based on these pictures? I don't expect so, but just in case. Does this look like a Bible verse to you? What can we see? What's that there? Bread. And then what's this? Yeah, and this one down here? Mouth. Electrical cord. And an ear. Is that anyone else's favorite verse? It doesn't make sense yet, does it? We're going to have to go a bit deeper. Let's try one more. Let's see if we can kind of pull a bit more into it. All right, okay. Here we've got some clues now. Unwholemeal. What does that mean? Anyone? Any ideas? What do you reckon, Ruben?
Entire meal.
Not an entire meal. Ooh, excellent guess. I think that looks like wholemeal bread up there. Okay, what about, what's this one? Mount, that's not a clue. That's just saying what it is. Come on, give us a break here. Building, cord, and ear. Okay, mostly it's just naming these things, but actually these are kind of like words that are in the verse. Okay, so we've got unwholemeal, mouth, building, cord, ear. All right, let's go one more, Toby. Unwholesome talk out of your mouth, except for building others up, according to, and those who hear. Okay. Does anyone know? Any arms raised? Anyone reckon they know what the verse is yet? Any clues? Any clues? Jen knows, but she's shy. Oh, sure you know. Yeah. Anyone? All right. Ready? One more. Toby? This is one of my mum's favorite Bible verses. She made us memorize it when we were kids. Let no unwholesome talk come out of your mouth except what is useful for building others up according to their needs. Very good, you got it. The clues weren't that helpful, were they? But I'm hoping they'll be helpful for remembering how it goes. All right, can we blank the screen? We can go back. All right, what do we go back one? We'll go back to the, yeah, okay, all right. Does anyone reckon they could say what the verse was? Does anyone reckon they could have a go? Let no, what? Come out of your, accept what is helpful for their needs for the benefit of? Right, okay. We'll go to the full one again. We'll say it all through one more time. And then I want to ask you what you think it kind of means. All right. Let no unwholesome talk come out of your mouth except what is useful for building others up according to their needs for the benefit of those who hear. All right. Any thoughts? What do you think it means? Any ideas? Reuben? Don't say anything mean. Unless you're saying something nice, that will help people. I like that. Any other thoughts? That's good. Ari, banana?
Well, sometimes people say, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything.
If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. I've heard that before. That's a good one for classrooms. For the benefit of those who hear. Who reckons they do this pretty well? None of my kids are game to put their hands up. Yeah? I reckon you do it pretty well, Ari.
Which one?
You. Well, both of you, actually. I think both of you. I would say, as a group, I think we do a pretty good job of that, don't we? But sometimes the words come out before we even have a chance to catch them. But do you know what? It's okay to have unwholesome things come in, fly into our heads. But the catch is, do we let them land and come out of our mouth, or do we catch them and then decide whether to say them or not? We catch them, right. It says, capture every thought, interrogate every thought before you let it out. And that's how we can kind of keep it safe. Do you know it? In James, it says that our tongues are capable of doing awful damage. Have you ever seen that before? Where someone says something and it just knocks you over like a pile of blocks. Have you ever had that before? So that's part of what we're called to do, is be careful about what we say. Ari? Think before you speak. I think they're excellent things. All right, I've got an idea. I've got a challenge for you guys. I think you're heading outside for some colour-tiggy now to enjoy the sunshine, but here's the thing. As you're going around, I want you not just to not be saying anything that's not going to build others up. I want you to think of some things that you can say that would encourage each other while you're going.
You're doing a great job.
You're doing a great job. All right, full points. You passed church today. Well done. That was so quick, and I feel great. All right. Thank you, guys. Let's go. Why don't we head on outside and have a round of colour-tiggy?
No.
Unless you want to give the message. No, next week. Maybe next week. Oh, thank you.
Good job, but not enough.
Thank you. That's almost encouraging. All right. Thanks, guys. Let no unwholesome talk come out of your mouth except what is helpful for building others up according to their needs. It's quite simple in a sense, isn't it? What do? You check before you speak and you let it come out. Now that's true that sometimes unwholesome stuff does come into our head, doesn't it? And we can feel kind of guilty about that. I know that sometimes I can feel ashamed even for the stuff that comes into my head. But the catch is, what do we do with it? What do we do when unwholesome stuff comes into our head? Do we take it as gospel? Do we take it as true? Do we believe the words that are spoken? I think it takes discernment to figure out what is actually good. What is it? What do our minds say? What has God said about who we are, about who others are, and what we're called to be? So we check it as it comes in, before it comes out of our mouth. Accept what is useful for building others up. Building others up, obviously, we're moving from thinking about ourselves, what's beneficial for ourselves, and shifting into thinking about other people. That's a big shift. Not everyone is good at doing that all the time. In fact, our default setting a lot of the time is to be thinking about ourselves. Or if we're saying something nice sometimes, it can be about ourselves as well. Flattery. Flattery is about saying nice things, not because they're true, not because they'll build the other person up, but so that we'll get what we want out of it. Whereas a compliment typically is something that's more given as a gift. And they're always welcome. What is useful for building others up. But of course, building others up isn't just about maybe what's nice or saying nice and complimentary things. Sometimes it is about saying things that are going to be helpful. And that can be a real challenge sometimes. What do you do if you see something that you think would be good, helpful for someone else? I remember one of the great challenges, I think, when I really first started to grow in my faith, is I'd had this particular challenge that I've got, and I'd feel like God said something to me, maybe to start doing something or to stop doing something. You know, maybe there was a show that I was watching that was just putting stuff into my head that was unhelpful. And I felt, I've got to shift here. I've got to stop watching this show. That was a big thing. But then what I'd often do is I'd go around and I'd see someone else who was watching that show. And of course I'd say, well, God has said we're not allowed to watch that show. You need to stop watching that show. But it doesn't work like that. God speaks to each of us, and he speaks to each of us where we're at. What we're given is bespoke. There are good and valuable things. There are truths that relate to all of us. But where people are at, what people need, sometimes you say something helpful to someone, and what do? They shrivel up into a ball, or they stand up big and tall and look grouchy. Knowing how to actually say things that are going to build people up, not just things that are true and are good, is a challenge, is a task that takes investment and time. But I'd have to say the real challenge of this one for me is according to their needs, because that's a step further. What's the golden rule? Does anyone know what the golden rule is in ethics and in the Bible? Love God as yourself and love your neighbor as yourself. Right, pretty straightforward. Lots of different groups and people like to take that up, not Christians. They've kind of co-opted that. Anyway, it's a great thing, but it's not quite that simple, is it? If I loved Liz as I loved myself, then she'd get Star Wars socks for her birthday, and, you know, we'd have licorice for dessert, you know, and very soon we'd not be in a relationship anymore. It doesn't quite work that way, because what's good for me isn't necessarily what is helpful and good for someone else. Not only do we have to get out of ourselves and think about other people, but we need to be thinking really critically and awarely about what other people need. Sometimes we don't even know what we need. Other people don't know what they need. The call to deep, true fellowship is both a step outside ourselves and also, in a sense, a step into the unknown. It is a call to inquisitiveness. It is a call to courage. It is a call to intentionality, remembering things. For me, writing stuff down when Liz says the book that she wants for Christmas or something like that, or she does or she doesn't like licorice. My goodness, you don't, do you? Got it, you see? 10 years in. It's all these things. There's intentionality that it takes. Patience as well. Modeled very nicely there. But it's more than just that. It is an adventure, and it is an act of faith. we stuff it up sometimes, don't we? We have to venture out into relationship, and that's a challenge as well. And that takes quality communication, which would be the second thing that I wanted to very briefly look at, and then we can put it into practice in the nice sunshine. What do you do in your house with odd socks? This is maybe you don't get them in your house. Maybe you don't have 3 kids, or maybe you're superhuman, or, I don't want to talk to you about it if that's the case. What do you do? Has anyone got a sock basket? You put your hand out for an odd socks, a special counter or something. Yeah, okay. Yeah, all right, okay. Has anyone just let them flow until they find their mate? Does anyone let them go? I knew someone who just bought lots of socks and chucked out any ones that didn't match. Brutal. What a peace of mind. I wish I had that kind of way of living. Or just buy all socks that are identical. If you buy all black socks, then they're all a pair, right? Yeah? There's different ways that you can approach dealing with it. When, I didn't ask you about sharing this, Liz. Communication. When we first kind of got married, I was certain that Liz was stealing or eating socks because they were all becoming odd pairs, like really fast. I looked in my drawer and they were all odd pairs. And it started to really kind of bug me. There was something wrong with the way that Liz was doing the laundry, because all of our socks, every day was odd sock day, And that was for a long time. And I was thinking, what's she doing, But newly married, you don't want to rock the boat, do you? We are compromising. We are finding peace in a household together. We'd already had the whole thing about where do you put the milk in the fridge and the doormat and all the rest of it. So, let's just pick the important things. And it was a long time before finally I said, okay, what is going on? What's going on with the socks? They're all odd. And she said, I was going to ask you the same thing. What are you doing with the socks? It was only then when we kind of thrashed it out and figured out what was happening, figured out that my thing was always, we just put them in the drawer, and then eventually the other thing will come through the wash and it will get sorted. It gets put in my drawer, and all of my socks will end up in my drawer, and then when they're there, I can see them. There they are. There's the match, and you can make the match in your sock drawer as you go, right? Next to the undies, with undies as witness to your glory, you can finally have them all set up together. But Liz had a little basket off to the corner. No judgment here, all right, okay? We're breaking down the unity of the church here. Maybe I should pick something less controversial. Who would have known? A sock basket that was full of all the socks that I was missing. And I had the other half in the drawers over on the other side. And never the twain shall meet. And so we had to figure out. But then, once we got to that point, then it started, right? Then you got to the point of going, okay, we've discovered that we are opposed completely in what we believe about the very fundamental nature of the thing we walk on every day, the foundation of our lives. And so then we had to have a conversation about, well, why on earth would you do it that way? And we ended up talking about, how we grew up and the way our parents did laundry. We had the full life story to work it through and then come together and understand that the hatred was passing and that we could get to a point of being able to relate together and continue the marriage. And we figured it out. And we're pretty much relatively consistent now. We do it Liz's way. And do you know what? It's a good method. It works actually pretty well. It's less messy in the drawers, a bunch of other benefits that I can't remember right now. The point is it's working. Sometimes to have deeper fellowship, we need to put off falsehood, as it says, and speak honestly with one another in grace. All this still applies. Is it going to be beneficial? Is it going to be building us up? Is this actually going to be worthwhile? Is this actually according to the needs of us and our relationship? I could have said, I think at the start what I was thinking was, let's just keep the peace. But a superficial peace never lasts, does it? You need the little honest bits and pieces of good conflict that keep things going. And that's the same in any relationship. That's the same in church fellowship. We need to be upfront. We need to say, why is it that when you sit on the pew you do this? Or why is it that we do this? Or why when we're standing out here? Or what's going on with how this happens? Or, things spoken in grace and in worthwhile to the end of building up, not to the end of finally sorting that sock heretic out, but to the end of figuring out how we do this all well together. And that also takes courage, inquisitiveness, generosity, and faith. Faith to enter into something in a way that, as with all relationships, it's always faith because it always requires two people to be engaged. Even our relationship with God as a model. Even God doesn't force us to be in relationship with him. He doesn't force us to have a conversation. He waits patiently. He generously speaks to us as much as we're willing to be there. But he never forces it on us. He's always patient. He's always kind. He's gentle. We do have a beautiful, courageous, open and loving church. And we've got a fantastic turnout today and a beautiful weather. And it is 11:06. Here's what I'm thinking. I might pray to finish up, and then we've got some homework. Who likes homework? Yeah, what a soul crusher. That's okay, we'll keep it simple. What we're going to do is, we're going to do some serious fellowship. We're going to turn to the person next to each other, confess a sin to one another. No, we're not going to do that. The intimacy that we require is not something, the depth of fellowship that we crave, where we're safe and trusted to share about what's really going on for us, to be honest, to be deeper than just display only, takes more than Sunday. We can't do it. Even if we had an hour's lunch afterwards, there's just not time and space. It says in Hebrews, encourage each other how often? Encourage each other once a Sunday, once a month. Daily, it says, encourage each other daily so that you will not fall apart, or you'll not fall away, that you'll not lose track, disconnect from your faith. It does say in James, confess your sins to one another. But how do we do that? How do we possibly have enough trust in the grace that we show to one another unless we're seeing that lived out with one another? I think that's built solidly on a Sunday, but it happens through the week. It happens through the relationships that we have. Sharing, it'd be great if you can. Talk with someone that you haven't talked to in at least a month and share. Now, you don't have to dive deep. Trust is needed. Small talk is important. There's a space for building connections with people. It's an investment and it's hard work for a lot of us, but it's important because you need to take the first steps to build trust before you can get deeper. If you ever joined a small group and you're thinking, they know all the in-jokes, they know all, they can share deeply, and I don't know these people, they don't know me, and it can be discouraging, but it takes time. Like with all the other values, if you're feeling a bit despairing, if you're feeling disconnected, if you're feeling like you don't have people in the church that you can share with at that level, or maybe you don't feel like you're connected in that way, don't despair. Don't despair. First up, you're full. This is a church full of gracious people, faithful people who know what it's like to live life because they live it too. And if they seem display only, let's scratch through the veneer and we're all the same. I don't live a perfect life. We're all sinners. If we say we're not, then it says, that we're deceiving ourselves first and then others second. We're all in the same boat. We're all struggling through. And secondly, relationships, like many of the other values we've talked to, is less like going to IKEA, buying a flat pack and having it up in the afternoon, as if anyone does them that easily. Some people do, I'm sure. It's less like buying something off the shelf. It's more like growing a garden. It's more like tending to something with intentionality, with hopefully some joy, but also some prickles and some hard work and some consistency. And then what we find is the joy of seeing that fruit grows despite us. God works it through. So with the hard gardening work of maybe small talk and talking to people we don't know very well, let's see what God does with the overall gardening and growing in our church and the getting to know each other. Let's see what God does together. So I'm going to pray. We're going to sing a song together. We're going to join our voices. And then let's spend some extra time joining our voices together in fellowship. Enjoy the sunshine.